Alright, we should be live. We're back. We're working on Vivi. Here he is, in case you need a reminder of exactly how he works. And when last we left off, we were at 160 cards, which means we only need 100 more cuts, and Vivi is good to go. Um, if you were looking forward to any of my other things yesterday after the first draft, I actually got a call from my brother saying that somebody had, called out and that I could pick up a few extra hours at work. And given that I was in the hospital last week, and that's why I'm missing most of my hours this week because I didn't know when I was getting out. Nothing serious if you missed it. I had a particularly bad kidney stone. I was able to pass it, but I had very weak urine flow, so they had me in the hospital for observation, make sure I could actually pass the stone. And after seeing that stone, oh my god, that thing is a nightmare still. Like, exponentially larger than anything I've ever passed before. Because I've had stones before, and they've all been horrible and painful and disturbing in their own way, but I'm used to like tiny little flat disc thing, like about the size of a um like a sesame seed in diameter or something, and this thing was a spindle. Anyway, enough about that. So I had the chance to pick up some hours yesterday, so I took that and then didn't wind up streaming when I got home or anything. Just took the rest of the night off. So we're gonna work on VV now, so that way get that much closer to having him done. So 160 cards, so we just need 100 cuts. Surely we can find 100 cards that we don't actually need. Quick pass, see if there's anything now where it's like, yeah, we can probably get rid of that one. Reality Ripple. It's possible Reality Ripple can go as the most expensive and least impactful of the um, phasing cards, but we only have three others. I think it's like Slip Out the Back, March of Endless Mists, and the one from the Commander set. I think are the only other three things that can phase out Vivi. And phasing him out is one of the absolute best ways to protect him. Because it doesn't get rid of his counters, it doesn't leave him vulnerable to exile effects and board wipes and whatnot, so yeah, if Eevee can just be impossible to get off of the table, it stops bounce spells from hitting him. Like, all the stuff that other things wouldn't necessarily protect him from, especially if you start combining, like, the untargeted ones with the exile and bounce and whatnot. You know, Eevee's very vulnerable to Farewell and Cyclonic Rift, so considering those are two of the most heavily played, get you back in this game, put opponents on the back foot type sweepers, it really helps if you have more answers to them specifically. I can probably lose the Pendril Mist, and I think I'm going to have to. Like, I don't think I have room for both it and Tabernacle. And if you have both, Tabernacle. If you don't have both, Pendril Mist is way cheaper financially, so we'll just keep that off to the side as the means for people that haven't been playing since 1993 and don't use proxies and whatnot to actually have the effect in their deck. Is Lotus Petal too underwhelming? Like, I already cut the one red mana, make a treasure. Like, legitimately, Lotus Petal might be too underwhelming. Yeah, I can see cutting it. We have all of the other Moxen that we can run that don't require Vivi to suddenly be a dragon in order to function properly. So I don't think we need Lotus Petal necessarily. Search, Monolith. Those. It's possible Treachery can go. The thing is that Vivi for Brawl doesn't run a ton of removal that can hit anything. And I think that's a slight problem in Commander. Like, ooh, excuse me. Like a lot of the removal I'm running on Arena is damage based, lightning bolt, flames of Anor, that sort of thing. So, but it's a heads up 25 life format, so the odds that I need to kill, a 7, 8, 9 toughness creature at some point in time is actually kind of low, and then you throw in like a couple of blue bits of interaction to keep the creature at bay. So it really needs to be a giant creature with a really strong comes into play ability that I can't, comfortably bounce or deal damage to in order to get it off of the table. And then I still have a couple cards that, because I'm trying to beat Brawl commanders, things like the Amphibious Rain or whatever it is, the thing that makes a thing into an 0-1 frog and then, or 1-1 frog rather, with no abilities and then has Storm. Do still have the means to deal with things, but I like Treachery because it can untap my actual lands after Vivi's been used to make mana. That way I can basically maximize my mana while still having mana available on the opponent's turns. Because it's really only Treachery, Frantic Search, and in theory Rewind, but Rewind doesn't actually work because I need to be able to cast it with Vivi's mana. So I don't think. I think it's Snapback is the one that untaps the two lands as opposed to Snap, which is the Bounce and Island one. Try to remember which free spell with Snap in the name. It is the one that untaps the lands when you bounce the thing. Yeah, that's not quite worth it either. Yeah, I'm kind of left with Treachery and Frantic Search, and I don't know that I need Treachery necessarily. Because we do have, I think it's Reality Shift, the one that exiles the creature straight up and gives them the top card of their deck as a 2/2. And um, we have Rapid Hybrid. I didn't bother with like Pongify also, so we just have Rapid Hybrid. I have to triple check, make sure Pongify doesn't have slightly different wording, make sure one of them's not actually better than the other one. Yeah, if we need 100 cuts, Treachery is less mana efficient than some of the other things, and mana efficient. It's less mana efficient until it's not. Like once I have 5 lands to untap and we're at that point, then we're good. But if I need to kill something early on, it's not mana efficient to kill the thing. Like it goes from mana inefficient to the most mana efficient in rapid shift based on what mana I have to work with. So, but just being able to pay a mana and kill a thing is probably fine. Still grows Vivi and everything. I don't know if Foil is going to make the final build. We have all of the other free counter spells. Foil and Commandeer, because they both require me to discard 2 cards to cast them, are asking an awful lot from Vivi, you know, like resource wise, in order to get the free counterspell out of it. So they might not make it all the way through, but I do like Repulse in VV because it's a cantrip and it's an instant, so you can bounce the problematic thing and draw a card off of that, which helps his card flow. Excuse me. We don't need all of the Time Walk effects. They're so good in VV though. Like, you can't untap them to get extra mana like you normally could from a mana dork like this. So in order to get extra mana from him, you actually have to take another turn, and he rewards you so much for that because of how much mana he's capable of producing. That being said, Time Stretch is 10 mana, and we do have Expropriate on the list also. But then again, we also have cards like Mnemonic Deluge and whatnot, so it's possible I have a bit too many of the big, bomby finishing spells, and I need to cut a few of them. It would not surprise me at all if we checked it. It's like, yeah, you have like 10 spells on this list that are 10-ish mana. Maybe don't. Yeah, you've got, like, we literally have, off the top of my head, we have Time Stretch, Expropriate, the Red Finale, one with the Multiverse, Mnemonic Deluge. Like, all of them are, like, huge mana investments, and I don't want to draw multiple of them when I can't cast any of them. I'm also looking at Vedalken Shackles. I think Vedalken Shackles is actually worse than Treachery because most of my dual lands are not actually islands, which means between them and the handful of other non-basic lands, we actually might not have enough islands to steal something. Like, we could have, like, 5 blue mana sources in play and not be able to take, like, a 3-power creature. So, if anything, Vedalken Shackles should have gone before Treachery, but I encountered Treachery first. I don't think I actually need either of them. I'm tempted to cut the Maul. The biggest thing for the Maul is that it's +3/+3 and trample, and it equips for 1 mana. So if I cast a VV like a second time, or after Tenza's already in play, like, VV's 3 plus whatever else I had to add on to him, and this is 1, so that's 4, and it immediately rebates me 3 out of that 4 mana just for equipping him. So if I wanted to cast some other spells that turn, I absolutely could. Possible I don't bother with Remand. Remand's good for stopping something, like, big and splashy that's trying to interfere with Vivi. It's, obviously bad for stopping things like Swords to Plowshares, for example. Or it's just like, no, I just need 1 more mana and I can kill your guy all over again. And really, like, you get to draw a card, so you get to look for an actual answer to the thing, but then you get to deal a point of damage and throw Vivi by a point. So. So if he is long for this world, you get to keep the counter, but at least you got to deal the damage. We do have Counterspell and Mana Drain and Disdainful Stroke and Offer You Can't Refuse. Yeah, maybe we don't need Remand also. Swan Song. Fierce Guardianship. It's possible we don't need Repeal either, but hold off on that one for a little bit. Saver. We might have to lose Mindbreak Trap, but it's fine for the type of decks I expect to be playing against. Right now it can stay. Chalice, cast through time. Yeah, I might have a few too many do-nothing high casting cost enchantments too. Be a little bit careful. Distortion Strike. I could see Distortion Strike going. It's not needed, and we have other ways to push damage through with Vivi. Like, yeah, it's nice that it rebounds and lets Vivi get in for a ton of damage, or get in for a little bit of damage but grows him. That way, I have more mana to work with. We need 100 cuts, so Enter the Infinite might need to go. Like, we already have Omniscience, so if we can get Omniscience and Enter the Infinite, or like, we don't want to cast Enter the Infinite. Actually, it doesn't matter if we cast Enter the Infinite like multiple times, because they'll each resolve separately, so we won't deck out, because we'll put a card back and then we'll draw the card and put a card back and draw the card and put a card back if we have to copy it multiple times, because it's just draw your entire deck. It's effects that increase the amount of cards I draw. Like, if you would draw X cards plus one, or draw twice X cards or something, that would kill me with Enter the Infinite, because I literally then have to draw my entire deck twice, or plus an additional card, or anything fatal like that. We don't really have that in the deck, I don't think, unless I've forgotten it. Yeah, I think we cut Astral Cornucopia. The more I look at it, the more I'm like, I'm not going to be super thrilled a lot of the time spending 3 mana on it, unless I have nothing better to do with Vivi's mana, and then he still has to be adding like 2 to 3 of that mana just to get the one, like the one charge counter on it. If Vivi has like 6 plus power and that's all I've got to do with it, I'm not thrilled. Like, Chalice is a free roll the turn that you cast it. Either Vivi gets a counter, so you get to add a mana, or you spend 2 mana and Vivi gets a counter, and then it taps for a mana, so that's the 2 mana back. And then, worst case scenario is the same thing I'm describing with Astral Cornucopia, but the Cornucopia requires 3 mana, so you're still down a mana the turn that you cast it, even if Vivi adds the mana and you tap the Cornucopia immediately. So, also, we only have like 4 proliferate cards left on the list, and that one mana rock that can double counters. So it's not like we have a bunch of other ways to grow the Cornucopia, like to make it make more mana after we've cast it. Which is the thing, I have had not plenty, but a few decks that do proliferate a lot, especially the Planeswalker deck, and having something like Astral Cornucopia in play, where it's just like, okay, so we cast it on 3, it's a manalith, but then every time I proliferate all my other stuff, it also makes this thing make more mana. And that actually can get out of hand. So, I do want to keep the Stubborn Denial. Getting Vivi up to 3 power and then casting it gives me my 1 mana negate, and I think I'm okay with a negate style Force Spike as the trade off for one that's not online. Reality Shift we want to keep. Brawl's good. Disallow. Excuse me. It's possible we can cut like one of the like dive down, magic damper, what's the third one? Shore up. Like one of them because I have access to reality ripple and or the other one now. Like I run dive down on arena because I need one mana ways to protect Vivi from, you know, getting killed by cheap interaction the turn he comes down. So I need to be able to increase my chances of having a one mana way to protect him. So that's why we have so many, but because we have a few others that are better at protecting Vivi at slightly higher mana costs, it might be worth it to consider one of those instead. Every time I get to here, it's like, no, Narset is in the Brawl deck. Karn makes a lot of sense for Commander. Ral's strong, but I don't think we actually need him. I don't think he's quite doing enough, which is kind of odd for me. Like, normally when I have a spell heavy deck, and especially when I have time walk effects, things like Ral and Chandra Firebrand are basically auto includes for me, but having played with Vivi in Brawl, it's like I don't feel like I need this. I feel like I need other stuff more. Like I need the card draw and the time walks and the other things more than I need a way to make them better once I have them. So I could see Consider going. I could also see something like Sleight of Hand going because it's a sorcery. So you do get to see two cards, and you get the better of the two cards of your choice, but it's a sorcery, and it's not actually drawing, so it's not helping like Proph's Eidetic Memory. And so one of the things you want to do when you first cast Vivi is you want to have extra mana left over to protect him with. So that way, you know, because as with most relatively cheap commanders that are also the win con of the deck, opponents are going to be very inclined to get him off of the table and make him more expensive to redeploy in the future. So it really helps if you can protect him immediately and from preferably more than one thing, if at all possible. But if you manage to make it through the turn cycle and you have multiple mana left over and the ability to still cast the protection spell anyway, then you might want to cast the card draw spell for the extra mana that you're going to have when it gets back around to your turn. Basically, it's the same idea as not wasting your mana in limited. Like if you've ever watched any of my pre-release prep videos where I explain how um, not letting your opponent use their mana on their counter spells efficiently is one of the ways that you play around counter spells, and one of the ways that they play around that is having other options to do with their mana if you don't make them counterspell. And so it's basically that idea, but because Vivi benefits more from having cast the spells before the turn, so that way you have the mana from the spells and his counters to work with. It helps if some of the cheaper cantrips are instants. So I've been thinking a lot about like which ones do I want to cut because he has so much card draw. He has too much card draw, honestly. Like so much that he has over 50% of the deck would be pure card, well, not pure card draw, but card draw as one of the primary reasons why these cards are in the deck on the list right now. So we kind of need room for the counter spells and the other ways to protect Vivi, and like a handful of other cards that are going to help him win the game. So really need to get down below like 30 card draw spells basically. I'm gonna be honest. When I see Invoke Calamity, all I can think of is it's a worse Mizzix Mastery, and also we kind of need Vivi for the mana at that point, which is fine. But whereas I can cast a non-overloaded Mizzix Mastery very easily with my mana base, um, it's kind of hard to cast Invoke Calamity before activating Vivi if I need the extra mana from Vivi, which makes me a little less inclined for it. Also, it's 5 mana, and I can't cast Expropriate or Time Stretch off of it if they wind up in my graveyard. Whereas all of the other ones that cast a spell from my graveyard can hit those spells, so. Invoke is fine as a redundant one of these things, but it's not necessary. Don't like cut Arcane Bombardment. Flames, no. Rage, no. Go years. That's true. Pakpatik is also an argument for more instant-based spells. Now, granted, some of them I'm not going to have an option with, like the 4-mana draw 3s are almost entirely sorceries. Like, there just aren't that many cards that are 4 mana and draw 3 cards. No additional drawbacks, so. Pakpatik being what it is, just benefit. I would benefit more if I could up the number of instants versus sorceries. Probably cutting Relics War, but we'll figure that out later. Like still on the mentality that we're probably cutting one of them, because I don't think we need Shapecraft, Relics War, and Behind the Mask, and Monstrous Rage, and Ancestral Anger, and because all of them have the purpose of they're going to be pump spells for Vivi so they can function as rituals in addition to their other effects. Talent, stock up, River Regent, Dugan, Spur, Planisphere, Dream, yes. Maybe Sleight of Hand can go because of that. Like, it's got a few things going against it. Not being actual card draw, being a sorcery. That just make me think it's like if I have the choice, I'm going to take Ponder and Preordain over Sleight of Hand anyway, because I'm seeing potentially more cards with the other two. And Preordain and Ponder both are draws for Eidetic Memory, so. I have to get to the card draw sections to double check, but I think Sleight of Hand is going to wind up going. Fire Emancipation. Yeah, Unleash Fury is probably just a little too clunky. Like, with a lot of the other ones, Vivi doesn't need anything going on. I can just cast them, and all of a sudden, Vivi's got 3+ power, and is able to let me cast other stuff. Whereas that one, I need to have already played a bunch of spells to grow Vivi, and then it's a ritual slash helps me finish with, you know, any trampling effect attached to Vivi. So appropriate, force of negation, talisman of creativity, prodigy can stay, Ragavan can stay for right now. Yeah, Ragavan's one of the ones that I don't have in on Brawl because I don't actually have a Ragavan, and I don't feel like crafting him because I don't think he's like 100% necessary. But he's certainly very good. I've played against VV decks that have gone turn one Ragavan. It's just like, oh, cool. So one of the biggest things about VV is mana management, and having Ragavan keep making treasures for you for like the first 2 or 3 turns of the game before anything can get in his way. Pretty alright. Also, later on, when he connects after Vivi's out, you might hit a spell that you can cast that you would want to in order to get some counters on Vivi and, deal the damage and do whatever else the spell is doing for you. So, yeah, Ragavan probably makes as one of the few creatures in the deck. Commander's Plate is so expensive to equip, but protection from two of the most removal heavy colors in all of Magic, plus +3/+3 is not the worst. Honestly, though, I think I'd rather just have Champion's Helm, give him hexproof from all of the opponent's stuff. Like, yeah, the pro colors means that Vivi can also get through unblocked against those players potentially. Yeah, I think if we're gonna get rid of equipment, this is one of the ones I can get rid of and not feel too bad about. Like, I would rather have a Champion's Helm than Commander's Plate. I would rather pay 3 to cast and 1 to equip than 1 to cast and 3 to equip. And +2/+2 in hexproof is good enough compared to +3/+3 in Pro 3 colors. Especially since it's going to protect Vivi from, bounce spells that target him and whatnot, and role changing effects. Are you trying to steal my little wizard boy? So, copy the Rad Storm. We have 11 cards on the list that we cut. Let's take a quick look at the card draw. So, if I lose Sleight of Hand, I still have Brainstorm, Ponder, Twisted Image, Gataxian Probe, Consider, Ancestral Anger, Ending Whisper. Wait, do I have Whispers? Did I cut Whispers of the Muse already? No, I did not, and that's not on the list down here. So yeah, I have one more on top of that. Yeah, I think we can cut Sleight of Hand. Alright, so that brings me up to 12 cuts, right? If I copy this. Yeah, okay. It's 12 cards off the list, so down to 148. Alright. 88 more cuts. Okay, I think it's time to do another sub list. I want to look at Vivi's mana, like his other stuff, so grab like Mana Vault and Soul Ring and the Felwar Stone and all those. All of his ramp spells. Not necessarily the things that function as rituals for him, but just things that let me get my mana online faster, so that way when I cast Vivi, I've got protection up for him. I do consider Sapphire Medallion a ramp spell at that point, because it's making all of my things cheaper. Diamond, Symbol, Frantic Search, Grim Monolith, yes. Mox, yes. Lotus, yes. Is it Signet? Yeah, a second. Don't I have Mind Stone on this list? I don't think I cut it. And I don't have it over here, so... Yep, there it was. Alright, so anyway... Is it Signet? I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have Mind Stone on the list. I'm pretty sure it's on here. Everflowing Chalice. Ox Opal. Brawl gets on here for the same reason as the Sapphire. Mortal Sun does make my stuff cheaper, but that's only part of it. And by the time we get to the part where it's making my spells cheaper, yes, it's still helpful. But it's more helpful that it's giving me an extra card each turn and buffing Vivi than anything else. And it's possible the Immortal Sun should also go for the same reason as Stone Calendar. Like, obviously, it's much better than Stone Calendar for one more mana, but it's not necessarily anything. Yeah, Burgie is in here to produce mana. I think we do. Her. Hullbreaker Harnu. Brask for the same reason. Burgie. 15. Yeah, I'm looking at artist talent and I'm trying to decide if I count it. Suppose I do, because it. And if I'm playing it, I'm planning to get it to level 2 at least, relatively early on. I can start taking advantage of it, and then ideally the level 3 just to make Vivi deal more damage. Runes. Creativity. 18. I mean, if I'm not running Ragavan to ramp, then I don't know what I'm running him for, so. Signet. Alright. Should be everything. Wait, did I just click paste and it didn't even do it the first time? Damn. Raw, Amber, Urgy, Nebraska, Ellen. Hell is Signet. Okay. Honestly, we probably don't need Gilded Lotus. Oh, I didn't grab the one thing. Hang on. Let's get rid of Gilded Lotus, and then let's go grab it. 47. Raw, I did not grab the... Yeah, the amplifier. Because it is a mana rock, and then later on makes Vivi make a lot more mana potentially, so should be on the list here. So Orbrask is limited to instants and sorceries. He does chip in an extra point of damage on one of the opponents each time I cast it. If I manage to cast 3 spells, which is relatively easy with how the deck is, 3 instants or sorceries in the same turn, I can flip him. But the flip is like 3 damage to an opponent and all of their creatures. Then next turn 3 treasures. Then the turn after that I get to do the actual cool thing. Yeah, I can see losing Orbrask. He's okay in the deck, but not amazing. Like, Burgie's stronger, all things considered, because she's cheaper and doesn't care what spell I'm casting, so between those two facts, she's just a lot better. I could see if Orbrask let me add a mana of any color, then I don't think I could cut him, just because being able to chain the blue card draw spells easier would be too good. Go away. Two. Let's get rid of Orbrask. Feel like I'm accomplishing something here. It's possible the amplifier can go. By the time it's actually useful, like, Vivi's been in play for a while and done a ton of stuff. Like, yes, in Magical Christmas Land, once we get this down, like, we get a couple counters on Vivi, and then bam, Vivi's got like double counters, and then next turn we might even be able to double the doubled counters and then activate Vivi for a ton of mana. But all of that is happening on like turn 8 or 9 by then. You know, like, I cast this on 3, theory. I cast Vivi somewhere around like turn 4 or 5. Then Vivi's got to get some counters. That's probably going to be like turn 6 at that point. So yeah, then turn 7, I double his counters, and then maybe turn 8, I double the doubled counters, and that's where now Vivi's got, you know, like 8 or 10 counters on him now. Hasn't died. Despite the fact that I've been effectively spending 5 mana each time to do this. Yeah, I can see this one go. Alright, I feel like I'm slowing down and we're at the 50-minute mark, so I think this will be the last cut for today. We'll just call it there. I might be on later tonight doing Baldur's Gate or something, but that's going to do it for me for right now. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Good rest of your day.